One of them's hard to see.
Okay, so we're going to be going over the solubility rules for the lab. For this, you're going to need a periodic chart. This is the lab we're talking about. Okay? If you were present for the lab, then follow along. If you were absent, this is what the students did in the lab. Okay? You just have a weld tray like this, and this is what we'll be putting our chemicals in. The chemicals we are putting in are down here. So, introduction. A precipitate is a new solid formed in a solution as a result of a chemical reaction. These reactions are often single or double replacement reactions. So the key word here is precipitate, if a new solid is formed. And that's what we're going to be writing down here in our data boxes. We are going to write our observations. We mix NaCl with CaNO3, NaCl with AgNO3, NaCl with KNO3, and so on. When you're doing your well plate, it should be in this direction. Okay? NaCl will go all the way down 1, 2, 3, 4, because NaCl is going to mix with 4 different other compounds. 1, 2, 3, 4. So again, it's 3 compounds across, 4 compounds down. So I'm going to start with this first column. NaCl will go in your bucket, and if you're sharing, make sure you go ahead and do 4 down and then pass it to your partner or the table next to you. Do not do that. Let's start with another weld tray. You only need to put 2 drops each. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, so I'm going to focus on my very first row of NaCl. I'm going to do 1 row at a time.
So now then you can just rinse that out and you've got to dry it really well.
The first compound to be mixed with NaCl is CuNO3, and I'm just going to put 2 drops. Here's 2 drops of CuNO3. Okay, here it is right there. As you can see, there is no precipitate. There is nothing left over at the bottom. It's just still clear. So right here on my first box, where NaCl and CuNO3, I would write no precipitate. Just like this. Okay. At the very top it says you should see only 4 precipitates. So this will help you. The next one I'm going to mix with NaCl is going to be AgNO3. Here's AgNO3. Be very careful with this. It will stain your clothes. I'm just going to put 2 drops. After AgNO3 is KNO3. Here's KNO3. I'm just going to add 2 drops. I'm going to go back and fill out my observations after row 1 is done. After KNO3 is CaNO3 too. Here is CaNO3 too. That goes in the 4th one down. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see if there's any precipitates in any of row 1.
Yeah.
see if I can find a darker sheet of paper. Okay. In the second one, you can clearly see a white solid at the bottom. So that's where you would write precipitate. Okay. Again, that's the second one down. So it's going to be AgNO3 is where I would write precipitate. The rest, there is nothing. This is what I observed in row 1. Okay, now I'm going to go to row 2. At the very top goes Na2SO4, 4 down. So I'm going to find in my box NO2SO4, put 2 drops, yeah, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And then I mix CuNO3. 1, 2. And then after that, AgNO3. After that, KNO3. And I'm just going down the column boxes. And last but not least, CaNO3 too. See if there's a precipitate left in any of these? No,
Guys,
there's not.
hey, I want to help y'all a little bit with the questions on the back. How many of y'all?
The very last row is NaOH. I'm going to put NaOH 4 down.
Okay, let's crank it up a little, Motor Mouth. And no, don't take your goggles off yet. Okay, that's the issue.
The very first one I'm going to mix is CuNO3.
At the questions for number 1 and 2 and 3. Don't rewrite it on yours. It doesn't matter. I know what it says. All right. For number 1, this is what the question's asking. It's just worded really bad. Look at me. Don't look at her screen. What is the same in the ions? With the ions, it should say. What is the
Third
same
is
with the ions?
KNO3.
Look at the ions on your table. It tells you on the front. It tells you which ones are cations and which ones are anions. What's the same about all of the anions? They all have what? They all have
CaNO3 is your last
all
one.
right. Now then, again, what's the
If
same
it
with the
turns
cations?
pink, that is not a precipitate.
What's the same with them?
Just
Ivan?
ignore it.
I shouldn't be see a black strap across your face. Okay. Now then, what is the same with the cations? They all have what? And NO3. And then with number 3, read that. Okay. When you combine the liquids that had both 1 and 2 in them, when you combine those two, were they soluble or insoluble? When you put the sodium with the NO3, look at it. Look at your chart. They stayed clear. So, were they soluble or insoluble? Soluble. Okay? Now then,
Write down your observations.
done. Now then, the rest of it you can do. Those were just worded weird. I don't like the way they're worded.
So in column 2, where Na2SO4 was in, there was no precipitate in any of them. Okay, so this is column 2. And your very last column, it's a little difficult to see. Put something, a darker sheet of paper. And you can see the change of color. And the very top one of column 3 and the second one. Write those down. The very last 2, no precipitate. So this column right here is the NaOH observation data boxes. Precipitate, precipitate, no precipitate, no precipitate.
Okay, now guys,
You can finish the lab on your own.
why are you using 2 dishes?